Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Coach Red, where we bring you all the news, stories, takes, and opinions about your favorite teams from the Pacific North, fresh from the good to the bad to the Mariners.
Sweet, sweet Mariners, baby.
Welcome to opening week. Uh, we didn't go too hard in the Mariners during this off season with the Seahawks going longer, and realistically, when you're a good team, there is less question marks within the roster. The lineup's pretty much set with a couple of injuries that are unfolding. So you kind of know what you're going to get. So there wasn't a lot of speculation to do outside of Cole Emerson, who didn't light up the spring. So you didn't think that he was ultimately going to get that look, which is fine. You want him
He
to
played he
get
played
everyday playing
well.
time.
He played well,
But
but
he didn't play at
what's
such a high level that it made it imperative
sure.
that he made the roster.
Let him go rake in Tacoma for 2 months and we'll reevaluate. Still big
And
Cold Emerson guy here. Still big on him.
we have a fun unofficial sponsor of this episode, and it is Scuttlebutt Brewing Big Dumper
That's
Beer.
that's pretty cool.
It is unofficial because guess what? They didn't sponsor us at all. I just got it.
Nope.
And I will say this, as a beer, it is okay. Cheers. So, since there wasn't a lot of mystery and intrigue coming into the season, we're going to do what we have kind of done this year. We've added in a few new things, but we typically who are going to be the Mariners award winners by the time the season ends. We're going to look at these. We're going to do it before the season. We've got categories: most stolen bases, top batting average, most RBIs, most homers, gold glove, biggest glow up or leap made, most wins for a pitcher, best ERA, best reliever, Cy Young, and we'll finish it off with MVP. But before we get into that part of the award show, why don't I tell you a little bit about us? If you're looking for a guy that probably be the best award host as a ginger ever. I know Conan O'Brien's done it quite a bit, but if I'm being completely honest, I have never seen him host. So guess what? I have seen the episodes where I've hosted this. So let me get my red hair ripe. It's your boy Coach Red. You can find me on X at the real Coach Red, on Instagram at the real underscore Coach Red, TikTok at the real Coach Red. Also find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and leave a comment or two. And if you're looking for a different kind of host for an award show, maybe someone that says something and you just want to slap him in the face like he's Chris Rock.
Wow.
It's Kane.
Wow. Dude. All right.
Maybe you shouldn't
Coming
have
in
been so
hot
mean
today.
before the episode.
Yeah, I'm Kane. You can find me over on Twitter at Kane2406, TikTok Kane0624. Also, we're posting new videos over there because new MLB came out, so stay tuned for that. Uh, Also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. Follows. Do it, freaking do it. Sneak peek. My first homer of the year was with Cold Emerson online against somebody. So yes,
Nice.
sir.
And if you don't like his takes, you can go to his social media and just send a slap emoji.
Sure,
Boom.
dude.
Get
That
that
works.
interaction up. All right. Let's kick it off. This one is not the easiest one to pick. You have a bunch of guys that are
Uh,
burners. You have a bunch of guys that are crafty on the base pass. But Kane, who do you have as
this
your most
is
stolen bases for the Seattle
easy.
Mariners this season?
Easy. Josh Naylor. I'm going with Josh Naylor this year. By the time you acquired him, I believe he sold 15 bags last year for the Mariners, which put him at the 2020 club, right?
I think he ended up getting to like 30 stolen bases.
Exactly. Exactly. Give him a full year in Seattle and see what he does. We were all shocked and stunned by the amount and how successful he was last year. His IQ on the base pass just seems next level, right? All around ball player. And what he did last year, why not do it again this year? They're giving him the green light. They're going to give a lot of guys green lights this year, get into scoring position and rattle the pitcher, get inside their brain, right? So give me Josh Naylor on the year. I think it's a sneaky pick. I don't think you expected it. uh, this is what
It's not
I
that I did not expect it.
Okay, that's fair. This was what I felt just 100% about, and my wife laughed at me on the car ride home when I told her about it. So, give me Josh Naylor. Coach Red, who do you have for the most stolen bases this year?
I'm not certain. One guy who I think could very well easily be the guy in this spot. I don't know if he'll get enough playing time throughout the year. I kind of took a flyer last year with Dylan Moore, guy that's going to
Hmm.
fill a similar type role, especially early on in the season with the injury to JP Crawford. Ryan Bliss is a guy that I think could ultimately be your top base stealer if he gets
For
consistent
sure.
time and being that late inning pinch runner, getting in the
Hmm.
game, swiping a bag. Also thought pretty heavily on Julio, but I do think his bat is going to come to play this year, and I think that they're going
A lot
to
of
end up
doubles.
restricting his attempts. I think they're
I
going to tell him
agree.
to back it off. So I'm going to go with the guy that doesn't always, when he goes through slumps at the plate, when he does get on base, he is an absolute menace, and it is Randy Arozarena.
Okay.
Randy in the playoffs was so opportunistic and wasn't playoff Randy in the box, but oh my God, was he so infuriating to
Crafty.
other teams on the
Yeah,
base pass. He still has good
sure.
speed. He gets great jumps. He's kind of in that Naylor route where he doesn't get caught a lot when he steals. And he makes it look pretty easy. I think you give a full year. I think this team's going to have a lot swag, if you will. They're going to be feeling
Hmm.
pretty good about one another early on. And I think that early last season, you saw those ebbs and flows where not everyone was clicking at the same time, and they were still in that mode where they didn't have as high of a ceiling roster as a
Hmm.
whole. I think that you have plugged some of those holes to make it more advantageous for an early season run. I think you're going to see Randy Rosarena running early and often throughout the course of this year.
Okay. So you have Randy in this, and I've got Naylor.
Yep, two guys that if you really looked at the squad, I mean, Robles is the guy that can swipe some bags,
My
and
biggest worry with
Bliss.
Robles is just he gets too sling happy. Is the strikeout numbers are so high, and for him to be on base is just didn't have a good spring either.
I think
So,
it's going to be tough to. I mean, we'll talk about some other things more as the season goes along, but Luke Rayleigh had a pretty solid spring. Dom Canzone had a pretty good spring, and Dom Canzone, what he brought to the tail end of last year, I think it's going to hurt. And then when you throw in Rob Refsnyder as well, there's only going to be so many outfield DH at bats. So I think that unfortunately, unless a lefty is on the bump, it's going to be tougher for Robles to get on the field this year.
oh, it's gonna be really hard for him to get on the field
All right,
because I think you also run. Okay, sorry,
you're
getting
good.
sidetracked.
All right, let's go to who will be the top batting average
I
on the
battled
team.
with this one. I really battled with this one. Uh, Josh Naylor, what he put together last year was amazing. I gotta go Brendan Donovan though this year. He's gonna be your leadoff hitter. What I saw out of him this spring was absolutely fantastic. The dude just gets on base. He hits little slapdick singles and puts the ball in the gap. I think that Brendan Donovan is gonna lead his team in some stats. I think batting average will be one of them. he's going to be a menace all year for teams to go against. So, Coach Red, who do you have for the best batting average?
I agree that it's going to be Brendan Donovan. He's been
Yeah.
a high 200s guy his whole time with St. Louis Cardinals. The Mariners don't traditionally, on their homegrown talent, usually hit for the highest of batting average. It's more
Mhm.
of power and clutch. And I think Naylor is a solid choice, but Donovan's peskiness and bat to ball ability, I think really puts him at the top of that list. He's
I
one of the better second basemen at getting on base. And for a Mariners team that doesn't sit there with the highest of average, I think him setting the table is going to put some extra pressure on the pitchers to
yeah.
get more and more guys because Randy and Julio and JP spending time in the leadoff spot last year wasn't really the move. You were lacking that true leadoff hitter. JP, first
Mhm.
month of the season, looked phenomenal in that spot, slumped it, got a little dinged up, right? So ends up coming down to the nine spot, which I think is a more natural fit for him anyway. He's a great at rolling the lineup over, not necessarily setting the table. So I
Yes.
think that with Donovan, he sets the table and gets on base at a higher clip than anyone on this team.
I agree. I believe in like 40, 30 to 40 at bats in spring. He hit like 450. Like insane, dude. Like Josh Naylor loves hitting at T-Mobile, right? Like he was raking last year. Hit, I think he ended around like 290 in the regular season,
Mm-hmm.
but like Brandon Donovan's just something else.
Agreed. All right, let's go over to the RBI category. Who is going to lead the team in runs batted in?
It comes down to one of two people, right? There's only two choices here, and it's either Julio or Cal. And I'm gonna go with big dumper himself, Cal Raleigh, to capitalize on what he did last year. I don't think the long ball is going to be as prominent this year. He'll
That
still
at
hit
that high
around,
of a clip.
yeah, I still think he'll hit around 45 to 48. I'll give him that. If he hits 50, awesome. He won't get close to 60 again. uh, but I do think it's going to be more singles, more doubles from Cal this year. You saw some really good at bats in the spring where he took a lot of things. ABS is going to be huge this year, I believe, for multiple reasons, right? When you're in the box. So give me Cal Raleigh to put the ball in play. I know the other guy can just if he starts on the right note, it's a no brainer, right? But I got to go with Cal Raleigh this year. Coach Red, who do you got?
Neither of the guys that you mentioned.
Really? Oh boy.
I'm going with Josh Naylor. I believe that Josh Naylor is going to bat in the four spot consistently throughout this year.
That's fair.
Cal Raleigh at times does have his little slump periods and can be a little strikeout prone at times, as can Julio, right? So having a guy at four, and even when those guys are really rocking, Julio is great when he's hitting homers, but also when he's ripping the ball in the gap. If Cal isn't
Mhm.
able to drive him in, you have the opportunity with Naylor, who we said is a good bat to ball guy. He's going to be a higher average guy. If you got guys on base, I mean, Brendan Donovan isn't the fastest guy in the world. Cal Raleigh isn't the fastest guy in the world. Julio Rodriguez is near the top, though. Julio Rodriguez on second, Brendan Donovan at second. If if Naylor hits a well placed single, both of those guys are soaring. Even Cal. Cal's got some wheels on the base pass too. I think that having him being your primary four hitter, which I think is where he'll land, and Randy slotting in at the five spot pretty
Mhm.
consistently, I think with that, it gives Naylor the higher ceiling to have the most traffic on in front of him.
Yes. I I like that pick. I like that pick. I just if Julio starts on the right note too, dude, it might be over. He's on a if he goes on an MVP case this year.
Oh, we'll see. All right, let's hop over to the most home runs. This one's going to be probably highly contested.
Yeah, give it to America's ass again, Cal Raleigh. I don't think anybody can match him, right? He hit. I believe, 15 from the right side last year. I think those numbers go up again. It seems to get better every year. Um, expect a better average on the right, more power on the left. I think Cal Raleigh leads this team with 45 to 48 home runs this year. Coach Red, who do you have?
It's Cal Raleigh, and he is a he is an elite power hitter in today's game, out of position that you don't necessarily see that. And Can Randy and Josh Naylor, heck, even Cole Young has some ungodly pop, right? And you've got Julio, but outside of really a Randy Arozarena, the home run isn't their calling card, where Cal's is the home run and the clutch gene. And
Mhm.
when you say Cal Raleigh's humming, he's hitting 3 to 4 homers in a week. When you say Julio's humming, he's batting near 500. He might have 1 or 2 homers, but he's gap to gap, double, double,
Mhm.
double, double, double.
Unless it's July or August and he just catches fire and everything he touches goes out.
Yeah. But
So,
at that, in that same clip, I think that when you look at how much deeper this team is, all right, realistically, we're looking at a lineup that goes Donovan, Julio, Cal, Naylor.
yep.
So in front of Cal is a tough at bat in Julio Rodriguez, one of the top players in the league, along with Cal Raleigh, right? And then you've
Mhm.
got Josh Naylor, who I think has garnered a ton of respect in this offseason by multiple outlets. I mean, I watched some stuff on TikTok, and I believe one of the guys that was doing a breakdown of the top first basemans of the year had Josh Naylor right below Pete Alonso, right?
Yeah.
So the respect is getting put on that name, and you're going to see that by opposing pitchers. You can't really pitch around Cal Raleigh. You can't do it
Yeah.
when this lineup is now deeper and longer than, and we keep saying this year after year, but it keeps becoming true because of the pieces that they've added primarily at the deadline. But this year, you go ahead and bring in a high on base guy in Brendan Donovan. It just makes this lineup so much longer and so much more imposing. And
And
putting
on
Cal
the
Raleigh at three, sandwich in between uh absolute young phenom and a guy that has been underrated and is finally getting his flowers a little bit in Josh Naylor.
mhm.
I mean,
And then, you get to Randy, who you never know what's going to happen, right? Your sixth spot
he
might be
might
Cole
give you a
Young.
handshake. He might not. We don't know. We don't know.
Your sixth spot might be Cole Young on a potential breakout. Or seventh spot, or you think he's going to
No,
go eight?
your sixth spot is either going to be uh
Dom
Rayleigh Dom or Ref Snyder.
and, and, and not gonna lie, like every spot of that. But wherever Cole Young is, potential Cole Young breakout,
I think Cole Young slots into your eight spot pretty comfortably,
sure,
maybe seven,
sure,
but
dude,
probably more so in the eight spot with JP Orion Bliss or Leo Rivas in the nine hole.
sure, sure. But regardless, this lineup has run potential, gap potential, power, all the things you need.
And some more average potential than they've had in the years. But we're talking about
Agreed.
power, and we both agree Cal Raleigh is probably going to lead this team in home runs. All right, Gold Glove. We do have some former Gold Glove and Platinum Glove winners currently on the roster, but who wins your Gold Glove for this year?
Give me Brendan Donovan at third base. I think he's primarily going to slot there. I don't think he's going to play anywhere else.
It's probably
Um,
more advantageous because he was not a plus defender at second base.
no. And also, you get him with Perry Hill. Perry Hill's done wonders for a lot of people on this team and people who aren't on this team anymore. Um, we had Josh Rojas play a plus third base.
Josh Rojas had more defensive run saves, and not even to be a finalist was an atrocity for
Yeah,
the Gold Glove voting.
Josh Rojas played an amazing third, and we all brushed him off.
Gino had
Uh,
that glow up as well, where he came over
right.
and defense was the biggest question mark in his first year. Played, I think he was a Gold Glove finalist that first year he
Yeah.
was over.
So give me Brendan Donovan in the hot corner this year, matched up with Perry Hill. I think it makes too much sense. And everything I saw in spring training, again, in spring training, I don't really take that much into account for anything because it's totally different baseball down there.
It's practice.
It looked great from everything I saw. So, Coach Red, who do you got for Gold Glove?
My pick for the Gold Glove player of this team is a guy that I think, unfortunately, will not win a Gold Glove this year or in any
Ever,
year. Um,
ever.
and it's obviously Luis Castillo.
Dude, hold on. Side note:
I'm not. I'm not.
They
I
had
didn't pick.
Rafaela
I
sitting at shortstop on Diamond, like on MLB The Show. They have him listed as a shortstop, so he might have a chance if that's true.
yeah. I'm not picking Luis Castillo. I'm picking Julio Rodriguez,
Yes.
and Julio embodies the spirit. We did the Mariners top 50 for their 50th year. He embodies the spirit of what we've seen great players for the Mariners do in center field. Franklin Gutierrez, death to flying things. Mike
Mhm.
Cameron and Ken Griffey Jr. just throwing their bodies out there with reckless abandon. You know, early on, you had Kyle Lewis that actually played a pretty solid center field as well in his,
Yes.
albeit COVID year, rookie of the year season, right? Julio Rodriguez transformed his body years ago, and what you saw it in the World Baseball Classic,
Yeah.
robbing Aaron Judge of a home run. He's a guy that sometimes breaks too hard and almost overruns a ball. The the way he can get to the gaps, I think that another year in the bigs, I think that you're going to see his arm come into play a little bit more, and you might see a few more
Oh, his
outfield
arm was
assists.
great last year.
I mean, I'm seeing that the velocity's there. I'm looking for just a tad
Also,
more accuracy and a
hold
little
on,
bit more
timeout.
consistency.
Timeout. Didn't he throw out Ellie De La Cruz last year?
He probably did. I mean,
I
I
thought he
watched a
threw him
lot
out
of
at
games.
third
He, you
when
know,
Cincinnati was in town.
it wouldn't surprise me, but I think that Julio, bang for your buck and biggest potential
Fair.
to give you the most highlight plays, I think that's the play for me.
Hey, yeah. You know, I understand that says Mariners awards. I also think that Brendan Donovan might win a Gold Glove in general with Perry Hill being his running mate there.
I mean,
So
and we
putting that
didn't
on
even
the
talk
record.
about Cal, who's a year removed from Platinum Glove and not being
Yeah,
considered for a Gold Glove.
yeah.
I digress.
I mean, Cal Raleigh's gonna just. I hope the people thrown out is a tick up this year than it was from last year. That was a big downgrade from the year prior, but I think that Cal puts in the work, and so I think that he's gonna come in and be awesome. So, bye bye bye.
All right. We're going to go now to who do you think is going to take the biggest leap forward or have the biggest glow up? It doesn't necessarily have to be the youngest of guys, right? We saw Cal Raleigh go from 225, 25, 30 home run guy to 260, 255, 60 home run guy. So there's plenty of ways you can go with this. I mean, look at a Gabe Spire or even a Carlos
Yeah,
Vargas, right? There's plenty of options, but who you going with?
I think it's obvious who I'm going with. If you're fans of this show and you're fans of me, you know I love me some Cole Young. Um, I think Cole's gonna have a fantastic year. The power still looks like it's here. Um, Batting average looked great down in Arizona. I think he's There was something in the off season that I read where it was in the postseason and the Mariners just lost. And Julio walked up to Cole Young and was like,
He
hey,
didn't walk up to Cole Young. He called Cole Young over to his locker. Julio
sure,
Rodriguez.
whatever, sure, right? But tells him, hey, come be prepared next year. Come battle, come do everything you need to do to help this team. And I think that you saw a great commitment to him because they didn't trade him in the offseason, right? Talking a bit. Um, I think Cole Young's gonna break out this year. And we all were pounding on the table for him last year. Didn't get much run late in the season due to Jorge Polanco's excellency throughout the year. Uh, Give me a prominent Cole Young this year, and I think we're going to see like a 270 hitter. So, Coach Red, who do you got for the glow up?
I also have Cole Young, and I think because he's going to have the
Yeah.
full runway this year. I also read that same article. You He had a little bit of weight in this offseason, which I think is being put to good use. You are going to he plays an above average defense at second base, which just in that alone on what we saw throughout the year when you saw Polanco playing second base
Hmm.
wasn't always the sexiest thing out there. So I think you're gonna just see that defensively that tick up, and there's a good chance that he's going to be getting some run at shortstop too with some of that versatility. But I agree with the bat. I think you're going to see a little bit less strikeouts, a little bit more walks. I think you're going to see him be a little bit more composed. Where he'll be hitting in this lineup, I think, is in the bottom three. And I think it's a good spot for him for the early part of the season. Is this a guy that could ultimately see him climb up into potentially the two spot, the five spot, the six spot? Yeah, I think that those opportunities could present themselves due to good play, lack of play by some other guys, reshuffling the roster to get a spark, and then if it works, then kind of sticking with it. But last year we talked about it where I was like, Cole Young isn't a fun, intriguing piece, but I don't know if they think he's the guy. Is he the next Tyler Locklear, right? Where it's
Hmm.
like, is he in their future plans? Harry Ford was the same way. He never felt like he was part of their future plans. And you kind of felt
Here's
that way a little bit about Cole Young, right? So
mhm.
he's come in. He's obviously won the job. I mean, that's part of the reason why you don't have Colt Emerson up here, right? He did enough in this offseason and in this spring training to stick Brendan Donovan primarily as your third baseman and let Cole Young get his run.
And here's the thing, like Cold Emerson's gonna be on the major league roster at some point this year. Let's not get it twisted. And I feel like it's gonna be for JP at some point.
I don't
Yeah,
think that it's
you
necessarily going to be for JP. I think you're going to get to a point where, depending on how JP comes back from the injury, I think that
yes.
with the versatility of Donovan, you also have some guys in the outfield that Luke Rayleigh's dealt with some injuries. Victor Robles has dealt with some injuries. Dominic Canzone, when he's out in the field, looks like he's going to be injured every time he goes after a ball, right? There's possibility. Randy's had some things. Julio's had some things, and Brendan Donovan can play all around the field. He
Yes.
gives you that versatility. So I think that if there are some injuries where some guys are going to miss some more extended time after he's gotten that run, yes, I do think that he could be there. But he brought Colt Emerson, if we're being honest, probably had one of the biggest glow ups in the organization. I saw him early on in the season in Everett, and you didn't see in the game that I was at, he had like game winning sack fly, but I don't think he had a hit in the game. I don't like he made a diving play that looked cool, but didn't ultimately get to it. It was like I see that he's toolsy, but I'm not seeing him put it together. And then what he did really from after a third of the season on and just forcing his way into the playoff taxi roster, it was
Yeah.
insane, right? But I do think that Cole Young did get that taste. He saw what success looked like. He saw the the pains of defeat by the leaders of this team and said, I didn't do enough last year. I know that I was the new kid on the block. I know what this looks like now. It's time for me to go to work. And I think that he's ready to really show Seattle why he has been a top flight prospect for many years.
Yes,
And
I
and
agree.
I'm one that has not
Love
said
it.
that in the past.
I know. I love it. I've been huge on Cole Young for years. Huge on him, and I'm glad it's finally starting to be seen.
All right,
It's just tough when you're drafted out of high school, man.
it
It's
is.
tough.
All right, we're gonna flip it over to pitching staff right now, unless a position player just wows us. Unless we've got the next Shohei brewed on this team that we don't know about yet. Which pitcher will end the season with the most wins?
Give me my woo-hoo big summer strikeout, man. Brian Wu once again. What he did last year was absolutely dominant. Again, the offense clicked, and most of these guys missed a lot of time last year. So it's hard to kind of do that. I think you can pick a handful of guys, right? Almost any of the starters. Give me Brian Wu. They seem to be different when he was on the mound last year. Anytime that he was on the mound, it just seemed that the ball was more alive when the offense was hitting. And if he can capitalize on what he did last year, I think you're going to see a higher win total from this team. So give me Brian Wu this year. Coach Red, who do you got?
Brian Wu last year did such a good job of getting to the seventh inning, giving himself more
Mm-hmm.
opportunities to win. We saw towards the end of the year where he did have the injury, and it was the most. It was his basically only healthy season that he had had until that point. He really took the foothold. Can he replicate that again at that high level? I'm not sure yet. I want to see it a little bit more because we saw
Fair.
it in his rookie year. We did see came up. You had Bryce Miller who looked completely electric, and Brian Wu in his first couple starts got hit around pretty good. Then towards the end of the year, started coming back around to the hype that you expected, and what he did was amazing. But give me the old workhorse, the opening day starter. It's Logan Gilbert. He's been the guy that has been getting consistently deeper. After his rookie year where he was just all gas, no brakes. If you got to 5 innings, five and 2/3, you were lucky, right?
Yeah.
And then you really saw that turn about 2 years ago when he became the ace of the staff. And last year, even with the injuries, you saw it kind of revert back to that rookie year. But coming into the offseason healthy, what he was able to do in some of his playoff appearances, I think he's really going to feast off of that and really wear
It's like
that
he,
badge of honor. It's like the Felix thing. He's got that badge of honor. I think a lot of these pitchers on staff do.
I think it looks like he put on a little bit too in the offseason, which should work in his favor since he's so big. I mean, look at James Paxton and all that weight he throws around, dude.
Yeah. But I just, I can't not bet against Logan Gilbert.
That's fair. I mean, I'm just a Brian Wu guy. Like,
I am too.
you're gonna be shocked at my next answer.
All right. We're going to go to the best ERA on the team. Kane, who do you think's winning this battle?
It's gonna be Bryce Miller because if you get a fully healthy Bryce Miller, right? If he's fully ready to go,
Well, he's not going to start the year on
I
our
I
staff.
I understand that. But when he gets back, I don't think he's missing extended time, right? I
You
I
hope
think it's
not.
I think it's a short window. His bullpen went good the other day. Uh, Look at what he did in the postseason, right? In the second half of the year prior. Absolutely electric, unhittable. Dude is our best pitcher. I think if you can give me a fully healthy, only misses a couple starts, maybe two or three,
Doesn't affect his
and
ERA. We're not talking about wins. We're talking about earnings.
yes. So I'm throwing him in there, and I think that Bryce Miller can absolutely dial it in this year and go back to that guy where we're just all in awe on when he's on the bump. So, Coach Red, who you got?
I'm gonna go with Furious George Kirby.
That's
And
fair.
he's a guy that lives in the zone. Last year was an anomaly. His first time really dealing with some injury, came back, still wasn't really dialed in. You saw more walks, but I think that with him
Uptick in the
playing a
home
little bit
runs.
more on the edges and out of the strike zone is going to help him generate more Ks this year on a consistent basis. A lot of
Hmm.
guys know that Kirby is going to be in the zone early and often, and usually try to jump him. And there's sometimes where the ball just happens to find guys, and that's going to get him quick outs, quick innings, and really be able to up that inning count
Yeah,
without.
keep the pitch count down.
And I think you're going to see those walk numbers come back. He was one of the best in baseball's history on his, you know, walks per nine average. And I think you're going to see him come back to that. He comes in
Mm,
fully healthy into this camp. And you're looking for a couple of guys, especially when you look at the starters in your two workhorses from the year prior in George Kirby and Logan Gilbert, that were on that doorstep. And I think they both feel like they have something to prove because in the postseason, you had Logan Gilbert had one phenomenal start. George Kirby had one okay start, but I don't think they lived up to their standards of play in the postseason. I think that they're going to come out and really have that chip on their shoulder to prove that this is one of, if not the best starting staffs in the entire major league.
yep, I like it.
All right. Who do you have for your top reliever?
There's a couple names bouncing around in my head for this because I think, Matt Brash turning down WBC stuff means he's locked in for the year. And I think a healthy Brash Panda is gonna be filthy. But I really sat there and when the game's on the line, who do you want out there the most? And it's Andres Munoz. He's your best reliever you have in the bullpen. I don't even think it's close. Gabe Spire's your second. And those are the two I was kind of throwing around the most because Spire the last 2 years just has been something else, but Andres Munoz has been even better. Look at last year. He didn't give up a run, I believe, until July or August. It was late and high strikeout numbers. Guys, the changeup I think this year is going to be devastating for hitters. On top of his nasty slider, his fastball moves any in which way. Like he's just the best guy you got. So give me Andres Munoz. I think Coach Red's in agreement with me. Maybe.
I'm going to pick someone else.
Damn. All right.
Um, when you look at, which I'm not one that really dives super deep into spring training and spring results, but Gabe Spire did not look great in Mariners camp and gave up a couple homers while pitching for Team USA. I think that is going to put some added pressure on newly acquired Jose Ferrar. And it's a big power lefty arm. I think that he is going to do such a good job of taking some of that load off of Gabe Spire, who was
Mm-hmm.
used at an extremely high rate last year, being the only lefty in the pen. But he's a guy that can has the tools to be a setup guy as well. So you go from some nasty stuff and high octane from the left side and turn it around to Munoz. You typically look at the Mariners and every year there's kind of a guy that you don't expect. Yes, Munoz has been good for the last handful of years since he has gotten into that closer role, right? But you had Paul Sewald come out of nowhere. You had Casey Sadler. You had all these different types of guys that Gabe Spire was one of them as well. Eduardo Bizardo, baby, right? These are all guys that can bridge that gap. But I think that Farrar brings you a big body lefty that you haven't really seen. Can Spire gas it up there? Yeah, but Farrar gives you a little bit more. And I think because of his unknownness to us and some of the underlying metrics playing on a not so good Nationals team, but still having bad optics, but good underlying numbers, I think is going to play extremely well in T Mobile Park. And I think that's going to really play to his benefit. And just from the eye test, Munoz is probably going to be your best reliever. He's going to have the high strikeout numbers. He's going to have the saves, right? But I think that with Farrar, you're going to see a pretty low ERA, and you're going to see some electric stuff and shades of what
Fair.
we thought we were getting with Gregory Santos.
That's fair.
All right, Kane, who is your Cy Young for this team?
I think he's going to put on another strong case. He was in the talks last year, and it's Brian Wu. It's going to be a hard. I mean, on the team, maybe not, but in the whole grand scheme, it's going to be hard with Tarek School in the league.
Garrett
Um,
Crochet.
yeah, but I think that if Brian Wu can put up what he did last year, we're going to be sitting pretty. And fingers crossed on the injury bug. I hope it doesn't happen this year. We get a completely full season from him. I think he's going to be your best pitcher on the year. What he has improved upon since he came up, I think he's only got better. Like we've said in the past, the jump from year one to year two is very good. Jump to year three, I mean, year four now is just going to be electric, right? For some of these guys. Give me Brian Wood this year. Coach Red, who do you got?
I'm going to go with George Kirby as the Cy Young winner for this team. So you look at his rookie year, he came in and was more polished than Logan Gilbert was coming into the league. He pitches so well in that playoff game. The next year, he's an all star. He's getting Cy Young votes. Then you get a little bit of the injury bug. I think with the fully healthy George Kirby, each year that he's been fully healthy, he has ascended those ranks. He's another guy that was right in that same position, fourth or fifth place in Cy Young voting, where Wu was last year. I think that spending that time down and like I said, I think he's going to have a bigger chip on his shoulder to really perform and be the guy. And I think that he's going to wear that with a badge of honor. And he just seems always so calm, cool, and collected out there, right? It feels like he's in a rocking chair. When he gets going, it's give me the ball. We're starting the motion. Here we go. I'm gonna give you a deep game. We're gonna go win some ball games, and I think that you're gonna see a low ERA, and I think he's gonna be right up there with your top win total guys. And I think as a whole, you're gonna look back and say this was George Kirby's strongest year, and with a guy that had a top five Cy Young season, I think that he's going to be in serious consideration to be like kind of in that Hunter Brown role where he kind of took that step forward last year and really
Mhm.
eclipsed some guys and maybe unjustifiably a little bit Brian Wu, who was having a similar, shining bright moment last year. But I think that George Kirby, people forgot about him, but I don't think that you're going to have the opportunity to do that for too long because I think he's going
Mm,
to show up early and often and really show what we've missed last year from a traditional George Kirby.
okay.
And it all comes down to this the big kahuna, the MVP, most valuable player to the Mariners this year. Who's it going to be, Kane?
I had a coin flip on this one, and you might hate me for it, but I'm going with Julio Rodriguez.
Did you always pick Cal? This is a harbinger of death. Every time you've picked Julio as a good player, a player of the week, he has been uh, booty cheeks. He's
Yeah,
been cheeks.
I think it has to be, right? It has to be Julio this year. I think if you want to get over that hump, Julio has to show up early and play with that consistency all year. He needs to be the MVP like in the talks this year, because usually when he's there, this team is soaring, right? Whenever he's playing at that level, this team cannot lose. Like, granted, there's losses in baseball, but if Julio Rodriguez shows up from day one and is on fire and is blitzing the ball everywhere around the field like we all know he can, I mean, he had a pretty decent spring. The hits were coming. Like, this is a better start to anything that we've seen. You got to see him have the energy at the WBC. That's very important to him. Now come to Seattle and win a World Series. It's got to be Julio Rodriguez this year. This is his year to finally break out in a sense where he is a top five player in baseball, right? That he can be. So that's who I have for my MVP this year. I hope it's not bad luck, but Coach Red, who you got for MVP?
Um, it's easy. I'm gonna go with the guy who had a pretty important number after last year, and started with the number six, right? And
Sure.
he's a guy that is top six all time in Mariners WAR, and it's Julio Rodriguez. I tricked you. You thought I was going to say 6-0 for 60 homers.
Yeah, I did.
Cal is the leader of this team. He is the captain of this team. He is everything you want him to be. He is clutch. He has a power bat and he plays phenomenal defense. But the heartbeat of this team, like you alluded to, is Julio Rodriguez.
Yes.
Julio Rodriguez, since he got into the league, is up there with the likes of Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto for top WAR. And what he's been able to do in 4 seasons has been great. And we saw the breakout, a little bit of step back in year two. We saw that bump back up in year three and in year four. I think year five is going to be something special.
He's 24 years old, right?
Yeah. And I keep harkening back to it, but the reason we didn't do stuff is because this team is so much deeper. And in those early times, it was the weight of the team was a little bit heavy on Julio's shoulders. But Josh Naylor fits in so well with this team. And I think that even some guys talked about it, even when Justin Turner came. I think they were talking a little bit last year with Josh Naylor. Like his approach at the plate is something that you try to emulate. And
Mm,
you've seen Julio pick that up and plays at such a high level and can do so many things for you. I had him as my gold glover. I do think that early on in the year he'll be able to swipe some bags, but as you see his importance to the team in the box really ratchet up and him play at such a high level, I think you're going to see those stolen base numbers come down. And I think that you're going to be relying on him being at second base without needing to swipe it. And you're going to see a ton of doubles. You're going to see 35 plus home runs, I
oh, yeah,
believe. And I think he's going to be right up there in RBIs too. I think he's going to be driving in Brendan Donovan quite a bit.
I
He
agree.
he was
Sorry,
right
little
there
thumper.
in he was probably number 2 or number 3 on all of the hitting categories when I was breaking down this team. And in
Yeah,
years past, it wouldn't be that hard to do, right? But the Mariners are in such a good position, especially in the American League and what they were able to
agreed.
do. And you want to see them make sure to take care of business in the AL West, but I do think you're going to see them have a little bit more uptick, especially against the East, because outside of your top three, I don't think the other two are there or as pesky as they have been
Mm,
before, right? And Mariners have traditionally played the Yankees 50-50 the last couple of years. They've had Toronto right there. They've been about 50-50 with them. The Red Sox always seem to be uh,
the bane of our
I
existence.
can't stand them because it's just like we play our worst baseball against them. But you saw it last year where they won important games against the Orioles.
Yes.
and the Rays were
And the
still a
Orioles
little
were
bit
bad
pesky.
last year.
But I agree, but I think that the Mariners and Julio is just going to ratchet this thing up, and
Yeah.
we're in for another treat. And it's been a phenomenal year in sports. We're coming off the Super Bowl. We're still riding that high. You got high expectations. I saw a projection today that had the Mariners with the best record in the American League and the second best record in baseball, like 7 or 8 wins behind the Dodgers. So I think we're in for a treat. You've got a team that is extremely hungry. I think that you're going to see a similar type ratchet up like you saw when the Royals made their first World Series, did not come out with the victory, and they came back even stronger the next year. You've got your main core still around. You've got some emerging young talent. You have some interesting pieces that have all shown at different points in time their value to this team, and especially when we look offensively. Mitch
Hmm.
Garver can put the ball out of the park. He's lightning in a bottle, and if you get that once a week, and you can, every other start, he can put one out, or
Also,
every four.
at 2 million a year,
Yeah,
yes, please.
we all know. We all know what Cal Raleigh can do. We saw what Josh Naylor did last year. Like we said, it is going to be fun to see Cole Young get that runway. Ryan Bliss,
Mhm.
another guy that's projected to be on this roster. We saw great things from him. The guy can put the ball out of the park. His defense is immaculate. Leo Rivas, playoff lore, right?
Yeah.
Coming in cold off the bench, smoking a single to driving the game time run to put a game in 15 innings, right? JP Crawford, you know all the moments that you've seen with him. You look at third base, everything that you're seeing with Brendan Donovan is just like a gritty put. I used to call him a dirt dog. That guy's going to be full effort all the time. You see it with Luke Raley, Victor Robles, what he did in that first year with us. You saw big things. Rob Refsnyder has been a beast at the dish and is regarded
Oh,
as a
dude.
high character guy. Dom Camp
Lefty just,
killer. I don't
yeah.
want to bring it up because I don't want to jinx it because we talk about a lefty killer every year. Jared Poto brings in and it doesn't always work out. Dom Canzone, his ability to put the ball out of the ballpark, him hitting at a higher average clip, I think is huge. Julio Rodriguez, we think he's going to be the MVP, and Randy Arozarena. Those are all your position players, and you've seen those moments with them. So I think it's going to be a very interesting, fun-filled. I don't think we're going to see as long as stretches as low as we saw last year. I think this lineup is too deep, barring any major injuries. I think the
Yes.
Mariners are in the best spot going into a season
That they've ever
that they've
been.
been for, I wouldn't say ever been, because
No,
95,
fair.
96, 2000, 2001. I mean, those were
Fair,
some
fair, fair,
pretty,
fair, fair,
some
fair.
pretty, some pretty big things. But
Fair.
the augmentations they have made to this lineup, I think, and having Josh Naylor at first base the whole year,
Oh, it's gonna be so much fun.
it was, I mean, we were running out Rowdy Tellez in like his 126 batting average because every once in a while he's putting the ball out of the park for a large chunk of the season, right?
Yeah,
I think that having him for a full season, the value isn't even being looked at as high as it's going to be. If he's on this team last year for the full season, I think you win 3 more games.
agreed. Agreed.
So it's going to be fun. We're excited. Make sure that you figure out. Read an article today about, well, if you watched it on a certain platform last year, you should have access to it again without having to get the MLB TV
Find
subscription.
out
But
Wednesday.
yeah, you're not going to find out till opening day. And then the affordability a little bit more this year than even the Root streaming package, where it's $100 for the whole year or $20 a month. Watch the Mariners. They made the moves, they made the push, and it's seeming ready to go make that
Like,
push to
like
be
once
there.
once they traded for Brendan Donovan, everyone was like, "Oh crap, we forgot the Mariners are still here."
We forgot they're still really good.
Yeah, and then they're like, "Oh, Brendan Donovan. All right, yeah, they're right back in the thick of it." So I'm here for
He
it.
was the perfect type of addition for this team. A
Agreed.
leadoff hitter, a guy that could play multiple positions, and
Agreed.
get on base. It was sorely needed. It was the biggest lapse in their thing, and you're hoping that yeah, you see Ryan Bliss, you see Cole Young take those steps forward. Eventually, you'll see Colt Emerson. Hope for speedy recovery, and JP's back on this field. But it's gonna be a fun season. Buckle
Agreed.
up
Agreed.
and enjoy opening day. But before you do that, why don't you give us a little follow on social media? You can find me, your boy, Coach Red, on X at the real Coach Red, on Instagram at the real underscore Coach Red, TikTok at the real Coach Red. Also find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and leave a comment or two. Kane, where you at?
You can find me on Twitter, K2406, TikTok, K0624. Also find the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. False, false, false. Do it, freaking do it.
And as always, stay fresh.
Stay fresh, peeps.
Peace.